Check out what I found. Welcome back to the Chattervast podcast, and today I just wanted to show you some maps. So a few years ago we bought a house, but we're always buying houses, but a few years ago we bought a house that had some unique things up in the attic. There was a box, and I let the former owners know, they're an older couple, I let them know that they left this box behind. I told my real estate agent that was the case, but they never came back for it. They never seemed interested in having it, but it was a box full of personal items, like huge box full of cards and letters that they sent to loved ones and that they had received from missionaries and people all over the world. It was like really amazing to like read through some of that stuff, and I know it's personal and like I didn't really want to do it for that reason, but I wanted to see some of the stuff that they might have left behind from a history that is long ago and forgotten. And one of the really cool things that I thought was the National Geographic Society. They were members in it, or at least one of them was. And it was full of maps. This particular book had a ton of maps in it, and then there were some extras outside of it. And these are really old maps, and they are really cool. So the National Geographic Society, I never looked up if this is still a thing or not, but there are lots of little pieces of information in here. You can see special interest maps and battlefield ones, and they have like price charts for all the different maps that you can buy. And then so I don't know exactly when this was sent out. I haven't come across like a specific date, because there are like different dates on every piece as far as like when the society started and different things like that. So they have like a whole recommendation for membership and all these different things. But besides all these really interesting things in here, a book of dogs that you can purchase, I guess, or it's like a poster of them, different dogs. And of course you can tell by like the pictures and stuff that this is pretty old. Probably from the 60s or something like that, which this house was built in like the 60s or 70s, so they were probably the first owners and just had all this stuff from a long time ago. But where are we? I want to get to the maps. I think those are the coolest parts. I was trying to find a date on here. So it says 1968 in the bottom of this piece of paper. That's Publications of the National Geographic Society. So if you can join it, definitely try that. You get a whole bunch of maps apparently back in the 60s. So some of these maps have places that no longer exist, which I think is really like one of the coolest things, is looking back in time and seeing how the world changes, and some in good ways and some in bad ways. But this map, there we go. This is Southeast Asia. So this is Thailand and Vietnam, Cambodia. So this is back before, well, let's see if I can get this all in the picture. I don't know if you can see everything in here, but here's North Vietnam and South Vietnam. So a whole different world, you can tell. Like, this doesn't, like, so there's the Tonkin region and stuff like that. It's really cool to look back in these. And of course, I don't know Southeast Asia super well. I haven't been down there. The closest I've been is the Philippines. So some of the other maps are a little more interesting to me at this point. But I have all these cool maps, so I thought I could show them off to you, and maybe I would find some interesting places on it. Now, I really like Russian history. When you get to the early 1900s and you look at some of the wars back then, and especially World War I and or the White Army and the Bolshevik Revolution, all this stuff, the wars that were going on over then were like men in like these big fur hats fighting in trenches, and then they were just like developing the tank and things like that. And it's such a stark contrast from the 1900s and 1910s through the 1940s. Like, the world changed drastically, and obviously the world is continuing to change, and it's always changing, especially during my lifetime. I mean, we have things that I never thought we would have had 30 years ago. But back then, it was a huge, like, mechanical and technological change, especially when you're in the middle of war. But some of the really cool things that you have in this map thing, which I'm trying to be careful not to destroy them. I actually have a special project where I'm going to have to ruin a few of them, which I'm going to be really sad about. But this is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and this is like all of their places. And I'm actually watching a video today from the Kalmykia region down here in Dagestan, which was really interesting about that place. I'm going to have to go check that out someday. But this is really cool to see what the world was at that time. And you have, I don't know how well you can see everything on here, but let's see, it looks like you can kind of see some of it. Maybe I'll have to take some pictures. If you're interested in seeing some of these, I can scan them in and post pictures online or something like that. But you'll have to comment and like and subscribe, get my attention so that I know that you want to see those things. There's a whole bunch of them in here. There was this really cool one. Now, I'm interested in history, certain eras of it. I'm not really into like the Civil War as much as like I'm into early 1900s Russian history or something like that. I don't know, everybody has their phase of history that they like. But outside of history, I also like science and exploration. And one really cool piece that came in this, and obviously this was in the early days of oceanography and mapping the ocean. You have this. These are the maps of the this is particularly, let's see, this is Africa. So this is the Indian Ocean, and I have maps for every section of the ridges and the ocean floor where they mapped out everything. Like you can see these, it's crazy. It's like a whole nother world down there, which is amazing to see. So I'm really glad I stumbled upon these. Now, like I said, I'm gonna I have some plans to use some of them for a chest that I was making for my daughter, but now I'm like looking back at it, I'm like, maybe I should get some new maps. I mean, not that she's gonna notice the difference, but this is really cool that they were able to map all these things. And I think the Marinus Trench is somewhere, well, no, it would be outside of here because it's further up this way, but you can see how deep some of these valleys go in here and these mountains and ridges, that there's like a whole nother world below the ocean. And obviously oceans rising or going down, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to see much of this for really, I don't know that we'll ever see this without going down there ourselves. But it's pretty amazing that they were able to map this well in detail. And I don't know how accurate to the point that they made it, or if they just kind of interpolated some of the ideas, but it seems very well made and amazing. And some of it doesn't really make any sense as far as like what I thought about plate tectonics and stuff, because you have this main ridge line down here with mountains and another one alongside it, but then you have like this trench down here that cuts mid-oceanic ridge, so it must be something to do with Antarctica, and then you have another ridge right here, so it's really weird, like mountains, and then there's like a mountain base or a range that comes through it and then cuts down into like a line or like a trench or something. It's really interesting. This one's really cool. And of course, like I said before, I have a few other ones that of the Atlantic Ocean floor. Now this one's really cool because like it looks like a city with all of the streetways and stuff like that. I'll just show you a part of it, but there's all this ridge right through. So Europe over here, North America over here, Africa down here, you have this ridge right through here, and it's really hard to tell whether or not like it's lines cut deep trenches or if the mountains just have trenches cut through them, or if like there's actual depth to it. But it's amazing how detailed they made it. It's like the spine of the ocean right here. But I thought that was pretty cool. There's a lot, like just so many more maps in here that I have. Mexico and where they found all kinds of different temples and things like that back in the day. But that is what I had for today. I think it's really amazing, these maps. And I have like a whole stack more of them, and I have all of the materials that are still in here. There's plenty of materials in here as far as memberships and maps and things go. And then there's also a few, like if you're going to go visit places, because apparently they visited Canada at some point. Because I'm assuming that this didn't come with, this is an Esso gas station map, so I don't think this came with their membership in the Geographic Society, and this is also an Esso map of the United States, so this will be really fun to look through. I actually haven't looked through the United States one. This is just Eastern United States, but I haven't looked through this one, so I'm assuming that this couple who owned the house before us took a road trip from where they are down here in the southeast all the way up to Ontario or something like that, because they have a map going all the way up that way. So if you'd like to see more of these maps, I can talk about them, do some research on them, see the discrepancies and the timelines of these. If you're interested in that, just comment and let me know. If you'd like to see more digital imagery of it, where I could probably take some pictures or get it scanned in and have something like that online, I could definitely do that, because I think something like this is just like a rare find. And it's another point that I'd like to make is just when you are looking around in a house, say that you go and buy a house, there are other things there sometimes that people leave behind, history, stories, and obviously, like, you can't ask the walls what the history is in a place or what people said, but sometimes people leave things, and first off, you want to check that they want it back and it's their valuables, and I did in this case. But if they're going to leave it behind, hey, I'll definitely take a look at it, and I'm interested in seeing this and preserving that information. So anyways, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys later.